Oregon's roads 100 years ago were really a mess. The slogan was "Get Oregon out of the mud." We had dry roads, dry dusty roads in the summer and slick muddy roads in the winter. Nothing was really very good. The roads were also steep, grades of upwards of 18%, narrow, tight curves. They weren't really designed for anything more than a horse and a small wagon.
So untiring railroad magnate and highway promoter Sam Hill stepped in.
Hill had already made his fortune in the rail business. His dream now was to build a highway through the Columbia River Gorge. The state of Washington had already rejected the idea, but in February of 1913, he sold his idea to Oregon's legislature. That month, Oregon lawmakers created the first Highway Commission.
Sam Hill and Sam Lancaster, his engineer, were experimenting with road building at Hill's Mary Hill Ranch, about 100 miles east of Portland, about 1911. Eventually, Hill brought the entire Oregon legislature out to his ranch in February of 1913 to see how these roads really worked. Well, this was really a show and tell for Hill to show legislators how to make good roads and that good roads were the future. What you see is the legislature creating the Highway Commission in 1913, and from there we have roads like the Columbia River Highway in Oregon and other roads in the country.
It was not easy work. Technology was primitive in 1913. Construction crews took to the slopes with mules, shovels, steam power, and ropes. The highway itself would be a work of beauty. Stonemasons were brought in from Italy to help with the many bridges and the half viaducts that molded the highway to the steep cliffs. Lancaster transformed the greatest obstacles into the highway's most spectacular successes. Mitchell Point became Mitchell Point Tunnel, a tunnel with not one window, but 5. He conquered the steep slopes of Crown Point by building the road supports up from the shelves of rock. Lancaster managed all this and was still able to meet what were then modern design standards. The highway was finished from Portland to Hood River in just 2 years. By 1920, Oregon's road construction efforts enjoyed new financial support. The state had levied a 1 cent a gallon gas tax, the first state in the country to establish such a road user fee. The federal government was helping too. Oregon's first annual share of federal highway aid, $206,000. A lot of progress was made in those years. The Columbia River Highway now stretched from Astoria to Pendleton, the Pacific Highway from Washington to California, making Oregon the first state with a paved highway from border to border.
Soon thereafter, the Highway Commission turned its attention to inland highways and instructed Conde McCullough to design and build the high bridge over the Crooked River.
We do have some wonderful examples of bridge building. We look back to 1926 and Conde McCullough's Crooked River High Bridge, a wonderful steel arch, cantilevered arch. And then we have more recently today's Crooked River High Bridge, a wonderful structure that really speaks to the cutting edge engineering that we see here in Oregon on our highways.
The next big thing that ODOT accomplished in Central Oregon was building the Redmond reroute, which opened in 2008, moving 35,000 car trips a day out of downtown. And the last major project that ODOT completed in its first century of business in Central Oregon was the 4-lane Lava Butte project, with its unique underpasses to protect motorists and wildlife from collisions on the highway.
My feeling is that ODOT can look towards its past to help carry it forward to the future. This is an agency that's always been seen as a leader in transportation matters from the very beginning, and that they can help this agency to project forward, to look to the next century.